Welcome to the Sports Science Dudes. I am your host, Dr. Jose Antonio, with my co-host, Dr. Tony Ricci. You can find our podcast on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts, also on Rumble. If you're on YouTube, just hit the like button. Our special guest today is Everton Oliveira. He has a bachelor's degree in physical education. However, you probably know him best. Since 2012, he's been working directly with over 100 professional athletes from all over the world. More than 350 fights. That's a lot of damn fights. Involved directly as the strength and conditioning coach and performance coach for American Top Team here in South Florida. So welcome to the show, Everton. Great to have you.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. It's amazing time to share with you guys. And thank you so much again.
Yeah, as you know, I mean, Tony, obviously he works with fighters. I'm just a fan. In fact, I remember my first exposure to mixed martial arts was the tournament style back in UFC 1. I believe Royce Gracie beat everybody. And it was one of those eye-opening experiences like, whoa, if you can grapple, you will always beat someone who can only strike. That's basically what I learned from the first few UFCs. And then, of course, it evolved. And now the way MMA is everyone has to know how to strike. Everyone knows how to grapple. You can't just be, although some would argue, Alex Pereira, he's really just a striker and he's doing really well. And maybe we'll start with that. Okay, I want to start with that. So start with something a little controversial. I think if he fought someone, I mean, Cormier, he's retired, but if you fought someone who's a really good wrestler, even John Jones is a good wrestler, I don't think he'd stand a chance. What are your thoughts, Everton?
So, look, people have a wrong idea about Alex. He's well-rounded. He trains a lot of wrestling, a lot of jiu-jitsu, by the way. But yeah, his main martial art is striking. He people knows him about his striking skills. But it's hard. MMA right now, it's very complicated, and it's a chess game. Like if you play the right strategy, you can be one step ahead of your opponent. Right. But if people make some mistake in front of him, gonna go down. So for me, he's a very dangerous guy, and he knows as a champion he has a huge target on his back, and if he doesn't work a lot or even harder than he used to, it's very complicated to stay as a champion.
Yeah,
and we know he's training a lot. He's grappling.
Okay, can I put you on the spot, Everton? Would you mind?
No, it's fine.
If you had to bet, you're going to put $1,000 down. Okay, Alex. Okay, I'm going to give you two fighters: Alex versus Aspinal, Alex versus Jones.
Ooh. Oh, it's all in fun, Everton. Whatever, yeah. You can't be wrong, my man.
Yeah. Honest, to be fair, and I know John Jones is the best pounder per pound in the whole world. No argue with that. But I believe Pereira has more chance against Jones than Aspinal.
Wow,
regarding the size of Aspinal, and he already told all the media that his first strategy, he's going to shoot, he's going to try to grapple. He won't give him a chance to knock him out. So it's all about strategy. But honest, I will bet in Pereira. He's something special. He's something special.
I agree with you on that, Everton. He's and you know what's really cool to see how he really he made it later in his career. He's not a super young guy, and he's risen right. What is he now? About 37, maybe
37, I think.
Yeah. So it just shows years of training and skill paying off, and it's kind of encouraging to see somebody be able to hold their physiology, right, and conditioning throughout thear life, and then come in their mid-30s and really make a stand. So I thought that was pretty encouraging.
And what impressed me as a fan, the way that he played his strategy, his striking game, and the power that he can generate. even like short distance. Like he throw his
Right.
punch and he dropped people's like out
Yeah.
of nowhere. Like
No, he's got he's got dynamite in his fists. But you know who that reminds me of? Who had dynamite in his fists? Anthony Rumble Johnson.
Yeah.
I mean, he had a right hand that would just knock people out. But then when he fought a wrestler like Cormier, he couldn't do anything. And Tony, you never gave your $1,000 bet. I want to know what it is. Come on, Tony. Who would you bet on? Aspinal, Alex, Jones?
Oh, I'm on. Me too.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Well, it's very important we get to Everton right now. No, but just quickly, I think right now, I think Alex is just in a good place. I think he's very tough to beat right now, right?
So you
but
would take
if you're
Alex-
talking him versus Asper, that's a man that's something I'd like to see, and anything could happen. I really believe that, but nevertheless, I would probably go with Alex Pereira on that.
That would be any of those fights would be amazing fights.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
everyone want to watch that.
Yep.
now, Everton, you're originally from Brazil and you've been here certainly over a decade. Could you tell the audience a little bit about how, whenever I meet people who work as strength coaches, particularly with such a niche sport like mixed martial arts, it's not like you can go to school and say, hey, I want to be a strength and conditioning coach for mixed martial arts. I mean, there's no route to do that. So everyone sort of has different ways of getting to it. Tony has a different way. As you well know, Corey Peacock had a different way. And explain your journey from, growing up in Brazil, coming to the US, and how you ended up really working with American Top Team.
Okay. So even before the go to the university, I was judo and jiu-jitsu practitioner. I'm a black belt jiu-jitsu. So
hey,
I started.
I'm sorry, Everton. I got to ask you a question because this is an argument that comes up. Okay, and since you do both judo and jiu-jitsu, okay, it's one of those stupid arguments guys get into. They're drinking beer. They're like, in a street fight, what's better, knowing judo or knowing jiu-jitsu? Everton.
One-on-one.
The one-on-one street fight, judo or jiu-jitsu?
100% jiu-jitsu.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, the reason I ask that is the people who say judo are the ones who say you don't ever want to end up on the ground because you never know if their friends are around. They might kick you in the head. Whereas in judo, if you could just throw them or trip them, you're still upright. So, but it's interesting you said that. Go through your thought process as to why it would be more effective, assuming their friends can't kick you in the head.
Okay. So first of all, if you have more than one-on-one, like if you have a group of friends, I wouldn't say, because if you go to the ground, somebody can come sideways and kick you in the head and lights out. So, right. But jiu-jitsu is very effective on the ground. You can control the person on top. If you're on the bottom for some reason, let's see you have a judo or wrestler guy and take you down. But if you're on the bottom and if you're well-rounded jiu-jitsu game, you can kind of sweep or even submit the guy or get in some position that you can get away in a good way, right? So that's why, and as a jiu-jitsu practitioner, I know the benefits to know what you're doing, and I know you can neutralize somebody, putting somebody out, example, if you have to, right. using jiu-jitsu techniques. But I would say there's a mix of everything. Like in jiu-jitsu, you have to learn self-defense. You have to learn, because the jiu-jitsu competition back in the day, especially when I started, you could see people trading judo techniques. You could see people like doing the takedowns, not only double legs or single legs. They used to do like judo techniques. So we used to play a lot, and having a judo background that I have too. So when I was competing, I used to use a lot of judo techniques to start the fight. So it's good.
Right. Oh, that's a fair answer. I don't know, Tony, what are your thoughts on that real quick?
A host of variables, but I can't, because it really just depends upon too many different things. If I have to sum it up, I like launching people. I'm pretty good at it. My jiu-jitsu technique is not particularly gi is terrible. So I'm, you know, I have no choice but to hope judo works because I trained it for 25 years.
You'd rather just throw people around.
Yeah, yeah. But Everton, so you trained both in Brazil, right? Before you came here, yep.
Yeah. When I came here, I was already black belt.
Right.
I earned my black belt in 2007, so it's been like.
Did you compete in both jiu-jitsu and judo tournaments by chance?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting.
Nothing huge, but in Brazil, yeah, I did.
Oh, that's awesome.
Especially before I got to a point that I had to decide, do I want to be a professional athlete, like live with that, or just like be a practitioner? And I went to the university and I started to work with the sport. So, and I was doing my training anyway, so I was happy with that.
Okay.
And then after the university, tell us how you got into the strength side, everything, and conditioning.
So in Brazil, we are obligated to go to the university to work as a personal trainer, to work in a strength conditioning area. So, and when you go to university, you are obligated to go through a lot of different type of experience. Like you go to a soccer, volleyball, basketball. So you have like certain areas that you have to do. I start to do I started my private trainings back at the time during the university process, and I found love to help people with exercise, with sports. And as a professional, I feel that we have important part of the people's lives to guide them using the right activities and make a difference in the people's lives. Not only like sports performance, like people who wants to be more conditioned to join their lives. So it's something that it's my passion, and I started to do privates back in the day. So, and I had a chance to work in a different gyms and to go through a different process, like fitness areas, like aerobic. Over there, we used to have like local strength training, example classes like core and glutes, aero fitness, mixing with strength training. There was a lot of systems and body systems back in the day. So I kind of joined everything, and to be honest, all that experience today, I feel like made me a better professional to work with the sports performance, because sometimes I see myself working with 20 guys in the same time.
Right.
And remember me teaching the group classes,
the team
at the gym.
Yeah.
So and this is part of my professional journey. So like I said, I found in love to help people using the tools that I have as a professional.
That's fantastic.
To get to the sports performance was something that started like out of nowhere, because I was working at the gym and some athlete came to me and said like, "Hey coach, can I work with you? I like your style. I like the way that you train people." So, and then I started here and there. And one of my best friends, he was doing his master in Russia, and he moved here to US, and he started to work in American Dog Team. So that's how my whole way here started. But I didn't even thought or dream about it, move and live here. It was something, when I look back, I feel like there's something more powerful than I used to expect and guide me here. So that's something.
Yeah, so you're not the typical, I guess there's no such thing as typical. Like my parents immigrated here, I was quite little, and it was a plan they had. And my father was a physician. He wanted to come here, have a practice, medical practice in Washington, D.C. Whereas it sounds like for you, it is almost accidental. Like you didn't say, "Hey, I want to go to the United States and, work with American Top Team." However, you ended up where you ended up, American Top Team. And for a lot of people, especially for a fan, I don't work with athletes, I'm more of a fan of the sport. American Top Team is one of the biggest brands in MMA. In fact, it's possible it might be the biggest brand in MMA. You know, you have that, you have, you know, Gracie gyms. How, because I have, you know, Tony and I, we teach at university. On occasion, we'll have students say, how do I get to do what Everton does? I mean, how can I work at American Top Team? How can I work with professional fighters? And there's not, obviously, there's not a path. What would you say to, you know, a student who has interest in this field?
Oh, okay. So, like I said, I had the opportunity to get to there. And then I always say to the people that I'm speaking to, you have to be ready when the opportunity comes. And I was prepared. And when I did choose to start work with them, I knew it was a huge responsibility, but a huge opportunity. So I gave my everything to the guys that I start to work, and it was something funny because, like I said, I didn't think about to stay here. My friends, they were building something. They were starting a gym here, and I used to have a gym, so I have an experience. So they said, like, come on, man, we are friends. We are doing something special, and we want you here. So I came here to stay for 3 months.
Oh.
I remember I got here in November back 2011. So the gym was getting opened and a lot of construction and stuff like that. So we started work around. They opened the gym. I was back to teach jiu-jitsu. There was something that I didn't for a while. I was teaching a fitness group class, and I was helping them to build the gym. So then at one point, they said, like, come on, man, stay here. And I was in a time in my life, my personal life, I was in a relationship and then broke up. And so I was kind of like insecure. So I said, like, do you know what? Maybe something's pushing me here to experience this moment. So I decide to stay 1 year. So I said, like, do you know what? I will give this 1 year break. So I did that. And in that year, honest, my life changed upside down. And I started to work with Antonio Silva, Bigfoot Silva, the former UFC heavyweight. And he fought against Alistair Overeem. He had a huge victory, and he got a chance to fight for the title. And that kind of situation, I saw myself in the middle of, whoa, this is huge.
It is.
So, and was my first fight as a professional, involved directly. And then I said, like, do you know what? I will kind of consider my options. And also, I work with race car drivers.
You know what?
Also.
I remember that. Yeah.
I work with a lot of race car drivers. And that time, I was working with one Brazilian former Daytona 24 winner. And I was kind of like insecure, and he told me, man, come on, I won't let you go back. You're a good professional. I like you. I like to train with you, and I won't let you go back. Stay here. You have a bright future. So people around me were kind of pushing me to stay here. And then he started to introduce to other drivers. I started to work with them. And then I started to work with other fighters inside the ATT. With my friend, because he was there too, and then ended up right now I'm still here.
Sounds like no one wanted you to leave. So, but you know, you're actually, in a way, this is the quintessential, you know, sort of American story of you just show up from another country, and before you know it, you're super successful. Everybody knows who you are. And I think it's fascinating that you work with groups of athletes that in a way are completely different, race car drivers and fighters. Now, I want you to explain a little bit for particularly for the audience that loves training, how you approach race car driving. And I know this is mainly an MMA podcast today with you, but I want to hear about race car driving training versus MMA training. What is similar and what is noticeably different?
Okay. First of all, my approach when I look at an athlete, I try to understand the sport, right? So MMA and racing is an individual sport. They are pushed to the limits every single moment in their competition. Okay, fighters, they can get punched, kicked, take down, get submit for 15 or 25 minutes. Race car drivers, they have to be well fit to race an hour and a half, 2 hours, or even almost 3 hours if you talk about Indy 500, over 300 miles per hour, passing like this from the wall, risking their lives. So they need to be concentrate, sitting on the car, driving their best, and at the same time their heartbeat goes up to 180, sitting on the car.
That's amazing,
so
right?
the stress around, and I trying to cross path. So a few years ago, I used to take fighters and drivers to sometimes work out together. And it was so impressive how they exchange experience, how the drivers has to be concentrated, has to train their mind using mental training, mental techniques, visualization, reaction training. And at the same time, fighters, they have their aggressivity, they have their desire to take somebody out, right? So this was kind of very interesting moments that I could experience as a professional, exchanging their experience. And some of them, they are really good friends of the drivers that I train, and it's super nice because they talk about it, they change ideas. It's nice, exchange ideas.
What do you think from purely a fitness standpoint? That race car drivers, what it should be emphasized most for them in particular? Because like you said, they can't make a mistake or they crash and they could die. So it has to be basically a mistake-free event for them. But like you said, their heart rate is crazy high, even though they're sitting. And obviously there's a lot of mental stress. So from just a conditioning standpoint, is there anything that you would focus on for them?
I always trying to, even if the racing or MMA, I always try to respect the individuality and have the personal feedback, right? So for the drivers, they have to be strong enough to support the G forces on their bodies. So neck, core, shoulders, grip. So their arms need to be strong to handle the car. Their reaction. So I need to adapt some strategies mixing during their training. So I always try to let them prepare with that and addressing the specific muscles, like I said. But even if I don't mention legs, example, there was one point back in the day that one of the drivers told me, Coach, just for you know, my engineer came to me and said, like, the car from next year, I will have to be strong enough to brake because the brake are heavier than the one now. So what's a good feedback for me, because I need to work on their leg strength also, because they need to brake for 10 times during a lap, for sometimes like 50 laps, 40 laps, 30 laps. So there's a lot. And example, just give an example. There was one female this year competing, and her track trainer came to me and said, like, Coach, I might need your help. And I said, like, what's wrong? He said, like, my driver cannot turn the wheel because she has no strength for that. And she needs to slow down to the point that she's able to turn the wheel.
Interesting.
So this is affecting her performance and the team performance. So there's some particular things people don't realize that needs to be done,
Right.
and you have to do it. So if you look at the racing guys, they do cycling a lot. Some of them, they do triathlon and running, and then the strength training. So it's and I love to be around them. It's amazing experience and opportunity to be with them.
Yeah, that's super
here,
cool. That is so cool.
It's not about racing, but here's a funny story. This ticket here is I work with this kid. We started. He's 6 years old. He was 6 years old. So he told me once, I will win the nationals and I will represent the US in the worlds, and the worlds will be in Brazil. So you need to start to teach me in Portuguese. So I look at him and I said, do your part and I do my part, and I will go with you to the worlds. So this is the ticket. He came to me. His dad called me and said, like, hey man, you made a promise, so right now you have to do it, because he just won the nationals. And right now he's 16 years old. He lives in Italy. Actually, he's here. He will train after here. He's in a Red Bull driver school.
Wow, awesome.
So
that's great.
To be part of the journey.
That's great.
This is the most for me. This is the most passion I have about it.
Yeah.
Tony, do you have any comments?
No, just amazing. No, I do think we underrate the physical abilities that those drivers need, to Everton's point. But just to show you the influence of brain and tension and stress on the human body, yes, they're statically utilizing those muscles. So the blood demand is pretty great, right? Because they're racing for an hour and a half. But you talk about how much influence mindset, mental stress, tension, and focus have on the human body. You're running a heart rate up to $180 when technically the peripheral demands are not that great, right? So it's an incredible mental sport. I mean, the cognitive requirements are huge, and it's just cool to see how much influence the brain in and of itself has to the periphery, where you can get a heart rate to 180 beats per minute. Now, I'm not saying those guys are not working. They are working, as Everton just alluded to.
Yep.
You've got static tension on the body essentially for 2.5, 3 hours, and you have to be able to move. But I didn't even know that heart rate could go up to 180 beats per minute while in that car. So that gives us a good lesson in psychophysiology, boy. Tension, mental stress runs it all.
It's crazy because the feedback after some races, like specifically the Indy 500, which is insane, like the way that they drive and the stress around, the feedback from them, it's quite like impressed, because some of them, they say like, I don't want to do this anymore. But then next year they do it.
Right.
Like, they go out like completely out, like zero energy. They're mentally, like they're just up.
I would imagine after that you just want to sleep for a week.
Yeah, I bet so.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, Everton, for the sort of the casual to the casual fan of mixed martial arts, there's been an explosion of different organizations that promote fights, and you've worked with UFC, Gamebred. That's down in South Florida. Gamebred with Masvidal, right?
Yeah.
PFL, Ryzen, Bare Knuckle FC, One FC. Could you tell the casual fan, because I see all of these organizations and promotions, and other than UFC, because that's what I watch the most, what are those other organizations and what niche are they trying to get as compared to the UFC?
Okay, so for me, the UFC obviously is the main organization, but there's some organization that trying to get close to the UFC, building something different, like PFL. They do the tournament, the million dollar tournament, which for us as a professional, it's crazy, because the guys they need to do like 4 fights in a year, like fighting for the not even in a year, because it starts in March and finish in October. So it's crazy. Deal with injuries and training camp. So they basically stayed the whole year in camp. So some guys, they do back-to-back tournaments, 3 times tournament. So it's crazy. Then you have like PFL bought Bellator, so they kind of mix it up.
Okay.
And they did something special like champ versus champ, which was great. And as a fan, like I said, it's amazing for the sport. And then you have like the ONE FC in Asia. You have Ryzen in Japan. There are different organizations, different type of rules. But at the end of the day, as many organizations, we have more opportunities for the fighters, because the UFC, they have a lot of on their host and to make fights for everyone. And MMA for me, I used to have this phrase: the MMA is the most amateur professional sport I know. And people say like, why you tell that? Because they are professional, yeah, but it's different like NFL or soccer or NBA, because the fighters sometimes, I know UFC fighters, they used to work in the construction and train for the UFC fight because they need to make a living.
Exactly.
So this is something sad when you go into the sport, because they do everything they can to get their dreams. And if you have more opportunity for them, it's amazing. It's like soccer in Brazil. Everybody wants to be Neymar, but come on, we know what's gonna happen. But I can't say this to the young people, because they have their dreams, and who knows who they will be, right? But it's very hard.
So if you were to remove, let's say, the stars of MMA, let's take UFC, the people that the average casual fan knows the name, and instead take 100 fighters who are trying to get into the UFC, are these guys poor?
If you go for depends how many fights they do. Example, if they make, let's talk about numbers. If they make like 50-50, right? 50 for show up and 50 if they win. But let's say the guy didn't win, so he made 50,000, but he got injured, and he fought just one time in a year. So if you take the tax, if you take the manager, and he, like maybe he can't afford even his rental apartment.
Or
so
training.
Or training. So it's sad, because people don't realize, because people see like Conor, Jones, like the high standard guys, but to get there, it's a hard path.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Everton. And you gave a great analogy. Like Merab Davishvili, Merab worked construction up until a couple of years ago, right? Until he made the top 10 and got in there and started getting more fights. And by the way, 50-50 is pretty good for the guys just coming in. They're not even getting that. So even if they're at 25 or 30-30 and they got 3 fights a year, and let's say they win them all, what's that, $180 after taxes, after 3 or 4 coaches, after paying for your meal, your food, you didn't make that much money, man. It's not easy. Climbing the ladder is really tough for a lot of these young men and women.
Yeah, and it's hard to keep, and this is something for me impressed me, because there's some guys I have an honor to work, and they have an amazing story. Like being a construction, working 1 year, and the other year became a PFL champion,
right?
Winning $1 million. There's something like has to happen, like.
Right. Yep. There are great stories too. You're right, like Olympic stories almost.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that the names, the Connors, McGregors, the John Jones of the world. Yeah, they're the ones who make a lot of money. No one realizes that the majority of fighters are actually, they're busting their butt just trying to make it. And what's funny, Tony, you see that in bodybuilding, they get their IFBB pro card. Oh, I'm a professional bodybuilder. Well, no, you're not. You're losing money on food, on drugs. I
It
mean,
costs you
you're not
20 grand minimum just to go in the show. Yeah.
right. You're making no money. The idea that you call yourself a professional, it's always like astounded me. Like, there's nothing professional about bodybuilding other than the few guys and girls who make, who are the guys at the top who are well known. But that's like all sports. I mean, let's face it,
Yeah.
even in track
Yeah.
and field, who makes money? The top track
That's
guy.
true. Yeah.
If you get the guy who's ranked 50th, it's like, does anyone even know who's ranked 50th in the 100-meter dash? No, nobody knows. Probably nobody cares.
When I had the opportunity to talk about this, sometimes comes a lot of histories in my mind. Like, just came out one girl. She got to the UFC. She was from, I don't have 100%, but she was from Dagestan, maybe.
Okay.
She needs to fight, and she tore her ACL. She didn't debut in the UFC, so she has no money to do the surgery. Her doctor, which is my friend, called me and said, like, hey, can you work around, because she needs to just go to the fight, doesn't matter the result, and then we can use the insurance. So can you work around? I said, like, 100%. I didn't think about science. I didn't think about strategies. I just said, like, I will do it. She did. She submit the opponent in the first round right away. She got the bonus for the submission.
With a torn ACL.
Yes. And then she back to the gym, and I said, like, okay, right now you're going to do the surgery, and let's start from zero. She said, like, coach, you know what? I want to do another fight because I felt great. Can you work with that? I said, like, come on, really? Can you just go and fix what is broken? And she did. She went to the fight. She won again, and then she did the surgery. So,
Right.
That's amazing. That's, I mean,
it's a great point. Like, you don't, to Joey, to Everton's point, these guys, if you don't get hurt in the cage, you ain't getting, then it's out of your pocket, man.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So, and people don't realize that, because people see, like I said, McGregor. But if you watch his documentary, you're gonna know that he was in a tough spots too.
Yeah.
But he made it.
Yeah, because hey, you don't fight, you don't eat. I mean, although McGregor, he could eat whatever he wants at this point. Hey, sticking to the evolution of strength and conditioning for fighters. If you go back, Tony, you might know the year, what years this would be. If you go back to, I think, the late 1980s or 90s, I don't quite remember, but Evander Holyfield was the first boxer to implement weight training.
With Lee Haney, yeah.
Yes. Before that, boxers, they do road work, and then they spar. They hit the bag, whatever. So, wow, Evander Holyfield, implemented weight training. Fast forward to now, I think everybody realizes the importance of resistance training. Do you have a specific philosophy in terms of, so let's take weight classes where anything but heavyweight, so you have to make weight. In terms of resistance training, not wanting to put on lean body mass because it might move them up a weight class, but still training them for power and strength. So how do you approach that?
Okay. I always like to say there's two different situations, right? In my case, because I can't compare myself and the work that I have to do to other strength trainings, because I represent a team, and being part of the team, I need to understand, I need to respect the whole team schedule, and I have my own schedule fitted inside the team schedule, and I have to deal with that. So, and I've been doing this over a decade. It's different that if you are isolate strength training, you're not inside the team, because you can mix it up times and differences, like different days and stuff like that. Right. So being said that, I always try to separate off camp and training camp, right? But most of the time we can't deal with that because I know the UFC champion has off camp because he will fight when he and the event decide to put him to fight. But the guy who wants to make it in the sport, he needs to be ready anytime. Can be 1 week, can be 2 weeks, can be in the same day.
Mhm.
We saw in UFC the guy who just received a call and said like, I'm here in Vegas, I'm ready, so put me in. He was sitting on a couch and he received a call and he went down and he delivered, like, you know. So, but he did that because he was getting prepared and ready, and he could perform a three-round fight. So my question when I look at myself sitting on the computer and building their programs, I say like, I need to make them ready.
Yes.
And I'm not locked to an exercise, to a method. I always trying to think what is better for the fighter. But talking about method, one of the methods I've been using probably over a decade too is a complex and contrast training. It's one of the methods I found out could keep working the strength and build their power instead and not put that much stress on them, and also they could perform well. So like I said, respecting the whole schedule, I have 2 or 3 times to work per week with the fighters, and I have to deal with that. But also we have, okay, coach, I have my shoulders bothering me, I have my lower back bothering me, I have my knee, so I need to work around.
Yep.
I have the basic ideas when I do my programs, but I just remember now, Jeremy, which is an amazing coach and a good friend, he mentioned Tetris when he was speaking with you guys.
Yep.
And sometimes we have to do that. We have to just adjust here and there and mixing up and use our experience to change things. But if I can say a method that I like to use and I've been using a lot is a complex and contrast training.
Yeah. I love what you said there, because a lot of people that haven't been in, heavily invested in the fight world, Everton, don't understand the complexities that we're trying to negotiate. The season is not as predictable like a, soccer/football or American football season or baseball season. To your point, when they're climbing the ladder, they can get a call on 2 weeks. So you want to keep all their qualities prepared. You don't really, I don't want to say dangerous, but you may not be optimizing their capacity if you're just sitting there lifting heavy weights for 6 weeks. And at any given time, they're going to need some power. They're going to need agility, right? So it is, and you top that off with all the injuries and the other 2 or 3 training sessions per day. And it becomes really, this is what I do like about it. It's very challenging to know exactly how much to do and when, and what to do and when. It's a beautiful mixture of scientific principles, but using the art, like you said. Hey, I can't put too much on them now. I want to keep them fresh. They come in, you're supposed to do a lower body complex that day, and then they roll, somebody heel hooked them to practice before. Now their ankle is the same size as their thigh, So there's so much to negotiate in strength and conditioning for MMA. It is really, really challenging. But keeping the fighter ready is what you stated so well.
And it's hard, but at the same time, it's an amazing opportunity to work yourself with them, to get into them. I always say to them, I need to know them. They need to trust me, and I need to trust on them. And most of the time, I do step back on my area to let them push harder on the specific training, because we know they will have to perform fighting, not lifting or not jumping or not throwing, right? So just to give an example, if I have a lightweight guy or flyweight guy, we know they are naturally faster than the heavyweight guys, right? But some guys, they have no power on their punching. They don't have like strength enough. So if I have time, I look at myself and I say like, okay, how can I help this fighter to perform better? I know he can throw 100 punches, but no knockdown. He can't hurt anybody. So if I understand that every single technique comes from a muscle action, and if I understand the strategies and the biomechanics, the physics around their bodies, and build something that can increase their strength and transfer for the sport, I will do it. I will focus on that and trying to help their performance. I remember now, I help few fighters I worked with few fighters who decide to move up the division. One of them, she was double division champion. When she decided to move up, the first reaction for myself, and I knew the girl she was fighting because the girl is from my city, and I knew the girl has a crazy punch power, strength. The girl is it's a monster talking about body, right? So I said to her, we have time, so let's build your strength. So back at the day, she was benching like 215.
Wait, which girl? The one in Brazil?
No. Amanda.
Okay.
So she was like, and she was so happy seeing the way the progress. And I said like, okay, right now it's time for us to change this whole volume and the load we are putting you through, and let's change for the power training, and we start to mix it up. But after the fight, she told me, when Cyborg got me the first punch, I thought like, whoa, is that everything that you have for me? So wait for me. And when she did her punch, when she punched her, she kind of like lost her balance, and then the fight went, everybody knows. So my point in this situation was like, as a professional, did I help her on this whole training camp for that specific situation? Yes, okay, I'm happy with that. The most important thing is her star needs to shine, and then the light gonna bright our side, and everything's okay. So that's for me, it's important. So like I said, the flyweight, sometimes they don't have strength enough. So how can I adjust here and there to help them, right?
That's awesome. Yeah.
I don't want to have a guy who throws 200 punches in a fight and don't drop anybody. I prefer to have a guy who throws 10 punches and drop the guy twice.
Well,
just a personal opinion, right?
Well, I bet you the coaches over there agree with you. So the skills coaches.
And the opposite is true, because if you have a heavyweight too slow, you can try to build some agility, some speed strategies that can help them with that. So it's all about analyze each fighter and also each opponent. Because example, let's talk about you're gonna fight a grappler that doesn't want to trade punches with you. You know the guy gonna grapple with you. So if you don't drop the guy gonna hold you in some point. So you need to be ready to support the pressure, to exchange the isometrics with the guy without lose your power. Because sometimes you watch fights that the guy hold their opponent against the cage for 5 minutes, and the second round, the guy has no power.
Nothing. Yep. They lose it. Yeah. You hit
and
it
then you see like,
everything.
okay, this guy's done.
I've always said, and you summed it up beautifully, they all need the same qualities, but they don't all possess the same qualities equally. If we can help them a little bit to strengthen the weakness and enhance their strength more, we've done a nice job. And you've always done that. I've watched you for years, and you do it beautifully.
And like for me, I don't think like I'm a small part of the whole engine.
Yeah,
right? I see sometimes around strength trainers with a YouTube channel behind. Like, how are you gonna train somebody with 10 people recording you because you want to sell your programs? Like, come on, really? Just your results do the noise.
Yep.
And then I'm not against sell yourself, but like, and when you're in this situation, you kind of lose yourself a little.
I agree.
And you want to push the guy to the limit and also like create or trying to reinvent the wheel. Like,
wasn't it? Hey, Tony, wasn't it Walter Payton who said, if you're good, you tell other people, but if you're great, they tell you.
They tell you. You don't have to say anything. No, Everton, that's what I've always loved about the way you work, my friend. It's quality first, do my job first, no theater, just good work. You know, occasionally you share a great exercise, some of the good work that you're doing with the team over there, and numerous. I mean, everybody should just know, in case they don't, Everton's worked with numerous world champs over there at American Top Team. It's a great organization, but I've always loved it. He's serious about, you could tell right away. And just from your education, we're about making the person better too, not just making them a better athlete.
Yeah, I do have, I'm sorry.
No, just to say that I've watched him for years. Beautiful work all the time, no theater. He doesn't have Steven Spielberg coming in every time he's training somebody to film a new version of the workout.
Like just a quick, because first of all, I respect all of you, and I do follow you guys for a long time also, and all the research and everything. And like talking about this example, few weeks ago, I heard somebody talking about the complex training and saying like, oh, it's a new training method, blah, blah, blah. I was like, new training method? Really? Back in the 80s, people were performing that. Like, really?
Actually, I think Milo of ancient Greece was doing complex training.
Hey, we don't have much time left, but I wanted to tackle something as a fight fan, boxing fan. When I was a kid, my dad was a huge boxing fan. He would take us, again, this is back in the 70s. Tony, if you remember, if you wanted to watch a fight, it had to be on closed circuit TV. So you had to actually go somewhere, pay, and he would take me and my brothers. So we'd go to Washington, D.C. into a theater where it's all middle-aged men, except my dad and his kids. And we would watch Muhammad Ali fight whomever. I mean,
it was great. I remember it well.
Yeah. So I was always fascinated by the history of boxing. And then I will segue to my question for you, Everton. But I remember reading history of boxing, and that the last bare knuckle champion was who? Remember? John L. Sullivan, back in the 1890s. And I thought, wow, fighting bare knuckle, it's got to be a hell of a lot harder than fighting with gloves. And I never thought bare knuckle fighting would ever come back until it came back. And I'm like, wow, this is fascinating. So my question to you is, sure, fighting is fighting, but fighting without gloves is different than fighting with gloves. So what do you tell these fighters? And I noticed here, you worked with Thiago Alves. He was the bare knuckle FC 2021 champion.
Yeah.
What are the things they got to worry about that's different than obviously fighting with gloves in MMA?
So, and I work also with Junior, who just won the heavyweight game bread bare knuckle champion. What they told me about it? They said like, because I asked them, hey, what is the difference? Like, because in one punch you can break your hand, and then like you're gonna damage your performance because of that. And they said like, first of all, they do pretty good the wrap and the protection. Yes, they do, but they as a fighter, they kind of pace themselves to don't throw any kind of punches, because if they hit here or even in the forehead, they can break their hand. So they try to be more accurate. They more specific on their target. And Junior told me something. He was like, not only for me, but for my opponent, you feel that especially in the beginning when you have like your 100% body capacity, they kind of preserve themselves and use a different strategy. Throw punches, yeah, but like not 100%. Yeah, if they don't need, because any punch you can cut also. So
Right.
when something like this happen, then they go 100% and finish the what they started. But his feedback was kind of different. He said like, we need to aware that we can break our hands, so we kind of like pace ourselves in a different way. Use a little bit more kicks, knees, change a little bit the strategy without like go hard all the time. But as soon as the first punch goes hard, they just
How
go
often
and
do they fracture their hands? Yeah.
Junior didn't fracture. Thiago Alves, he did. Yeah,
And that's
but
just,
Junior didn't. Junior said like he was fine, and the fight was tough.
yeah, that's interesting. It's you know, to me, watching bare knuckle, when I watch it, it's, you can tell that they're a little hesitant. You can't just throw a haymaker and hope you knock someone out, because
Yeah.
you'll break something. And in a way, it favors the fighters that are, I call them point fighters. You make contact, you make contact, you make contact, versus the one punch knockout artist, because you may not knock them out and you may just break your hand. So, but
Yeah.
I think it's fascinating. I think all these different fight organizations and way of fighting are fascinating, because this is the stuff that I, as a fan, wanted to see back when it was just boxing. It's like, wow, so you can kick, bare knuckle, grapple. I think it's all cool. I think it's all cool.
And Junior was telling me that he was trying to set up the right moment. So going for the bodies, and then when he see the opportunity, he told me I was using a lot of my jab to hurt my opponent, and then when I saw the opportunity, I threw my bomb. It's not like with the gloves that you can go 10 times without being worried. It's fascinating.
Yeah. Before I let you go, I do want to announce, and I want to invite you, Everton. Myself, Tony, Corey Peacock, we're organizing the ISSN NSU Fight Camp. It's October 19th. Seminars on fighting and whatnot. It's at Nova Southeastern University. It is on a Saturday. It's October 19th.
Nice.
Something for you. You might be interested or you might not. It'd be great to have you. We're doing a roundtable discussion from 12:30 to 1:30. Lunch will be served for people who are attending. And it's really just for coaches and athletes to talk about their philosophy of fighting, how they fight, and things like that. I know Dr. Peacock, he's going to bring some fighters. I don't know, Tony, if you're going to have any guys or girls you work with, but it's just one of those things where we're just exchanging information. It'll be a fun time. So Everton, if you want to show up, let me know. You don't have to register. I'll register you myself. And it would just be great to get feedback from all, because let's face it, South Florida is a great place for MMA. It's better than anywhere in the country. So having you there would be awesome.
Yeah, we have it all now, right? Yeah, we'd love to have you, Everton, if you can make it that day.
It will be my honor, but I don't know if I will be here because we have Renan Ferreira fighting against Francis Ngannou in October 19th.
Oh,
so it's a huge heavyweight battle. So I don't know if I go.
Okay.
Because when I can go, I love to be there, because for myself, it's some memories that I will take for me forever.
Absolutely.
Like if I can be with them, it's amazing. Like it's something that stays here and here forever. So I don't know if I will, but if I'm here, for sure I will go.
Absolutely. I want to make note to close it out. You are up, what is it, the MMA Awards, for one of the coaches of the year. Yep. So I think we all need to get out and let's put on a vote for Everton now.
Yeah, I am for the second year in a row. I'm super happy with that. It's something that, I wanted the fighter win, the results will shine on us. But yeah, for sure, being recognized like that, it's amazing. Yeah.
Good.
Always good to be recognized by your peers. So Everton, I want to thank you for being on the Sports Science Dudes. This has been a very fun conversation. And again, October 19th, if you can make it, that would be awesome. But if you don't make it, we know you're somewhere better and having more fun. So thanks a lot, Everton. Appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for the opportunity from you guys, and I'm very happy to be here. We could stay for
many, I know, for hours.
For many hours. We could have like other guys talking about many other different things, and it's amazing to share experience with all you. Thank you so much for the respect.
Thank you.
And
Appreciate it.
We'll see you soon, Everton. Take
care.
care.
Bye.